Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode 10 of the Rollout Show. I'm actually kind of surprised we made it to 10 episodes. How about you, co host?
I mean, they haven't all been great.
I mean, probably only two of them
I
have
think
actually been listenable.
which one was really bad? Like 4 or 5?
Five was terrible. Five was really awful.
So I think we kind of got to scratch that one from the record. And I don't think it counts.
So is this like 9.5?
9.874.
I like that. I can respect that.
Thank you.
It's good. I can tell you went to college.
I did. Had to take a lot of math with an engineering degree. Did you catch that too?
I did. That's the joke I was making.
2 plus 2 equals 4.
3.14 equals pi, and my favorite kind of pie is key lime pie.
The derivative of 1 over x is the natural log of x. I think that's right.
I was about to say you already lost me, so I wasn't going to call you out.
It's either that or it's the antiderivative. One of the two. I don't remember which.
Anyway, welcome to episode 10 of the Rollout Show.
Calculus.
I'm Weston Riddle. I'm joined by my co-host who got an engineering degree.
Hi, I'm Bradley. I like sports.
Yeah, sports is more fun to talk about than math. No offense to you math people out there.
No, you don't have to apologize. It's true.
Yeah, I think everybody would agree.
Yeah.
That's why a lot of math people are sports fans. That's called analytics departments.
It's like the Houston Rockets.
That's right. Speaking of the Houston Rockets, what a great team. Winning the whole thing this year on the back of James Harden.
They're like my 5th pick if I were to power rank them. Well, you got the top 3 obvious ones. You got Warriors,
the Jazz, the Grizzlies,
and
the Bulls.
I hate you. You got the Warriors, you got the Cavs 2, you got the Spurs 3.
You're not putting Rockets 4?
It's either Rockets or Wizards right now.
The Wizards. I told you to watch out for the Wizards.
You did.
I told you. You can look back at basically every other episode when we talk about the NBA playoffs where I'm like, gotta watch out for the Wizards, John Wall and them boys.
And they are killing it right now. I might put them 4 just because it would be easier for them to get through the East because they only have to beat one team.
Well, yeah, it's just like the talent level in a vacuum is kind of where I was looking at it, power ranking, so that's why I'd probably say Houston's 4.
Talent level, I'd take the Wizards too. It's just Harden and that team's
it's the system.
Play style, the system,
they're perfectly designed for what D'Antoni wants to do. I mean, they really are. We all basically question their moves, especially the D'Antoni hire, because I don't know about you, but I think the majority of people thought he was washed up at this point.
I mean, between the Lakers and the Knicks stops, I mean, he hasn't been a good coach since the early 2000s.
Right, and then now he's coming out and saying he wished he had taken it even further, like what he's doing with the Rockets now. But I guess we could have all seen this coming, but none of us really did.
No,
because
I didn't see this coming. Because I mean,
so poorly.
And the Rockets, it's not like they're filled with talent. They have James Harden and a bunch of 3-point shooters and Clint Capella to get rebounds. That's it. That's a team.
Hey, I mean,
and it's working.
Formula worked for the Cavs a little bit. I mean, you just have the guy who can get offensive boards.
I mean, I don't think that's a fair comparison because the Cavs have 2 of the top 15 players in the game.
I'm just comparing like Clint Capella to Tristan Thompson.
That's fine.
Yeah,
but they also have LeBron and Kyrie and Kevin Love.
I didn't get to explain myself.
The
Bradley.
Rockets have James Harden, and after James Harden, who's the next guy you take?
Ryan Anderson. That's a stretch 4 if I've ever seen one. I'm not wrong. He like invented the stretch 4.
I mean, yeah, he plays the stretch 4 position. It doesn't mean he's good.
I mean, I think that means he's very good at what he does. He's very good at what he does.
You would really take Ryan Anderson second if you were drafting from that team?
That team? I mean, I'd probably go Patrick Beverly because Team Heart right there. That man plays some defense.
Let's just get back on topic.
You know how I like shooting guards that play defense.
He's a point guard.
Plays shooting guard a lot for them.
But he's not a great shooter.
Yeah, exactly. But he switched to the 2 when they switched Harden to the 1.
That's stupid.
Well, I mean, he's their starting shooting guard because Eric Gordon comes off the bench and so does Lou Williams. So
it's stupid.
I don't know. It seems to be working for D'Antoni just fine. But anyway, on Bradley's note of saying that's
Washed
stupid,
up coach.
go back to Italy, D'Antoni.
He's going to win coach of the year. Washed up coach.
What are these NBA writers voting on?
You think he's easily going to win coach of the year, right? Who else is going to win it?
Had Spoelstra made the playoffs, Spoelstra would have taken some votes. But
with a 500 team, I mean, it's an incredible run they went on the second half.
Oh my gosh! I mean, that team.
But it's still a 500 team.
They're one of the least talented rosters in the league.
Yeah.
I mean,
but it's also important to remember that more than half of the teams in the league get into the playoffs. Well, just making the playoffs isn't an enormous accomplishment.
They had some big wins, though, over the course of the year. I mean, a lot of people were going to pick Spoelstra for Coach of the Year. I mean, a lot of people were out there picking Spoelstra, and some still are.
I think he would have got votes. I don't know if he would have deserved to win. I think what D'Antoni has done with the Rockets team, taking them far above what they were projected to do, is very impressive.
Yeah.
And it's mostly because of that system that they're winning so much.
That is very true. It's just, I think all of us kind of thought Spoelstra may not have been the greatest coach because he basically got handed a team with the big three.
Stay the course.
Stay the course, weather the storm, play to your identity. I mean, he had 3 catchphrases and he rode them.
I mean, that's all he said, and he basically let LeBron lead the team to 2 titles.
And then, I mean, because we weren't really sure. This was going to be the year where it's like, okay, what does Spoelstra actually have? And I think you saw what he had. I mean,
he's a good coach.
He's a great coach.
It helps that he's had the last 8 years to learn how to be a coach. Because, I mean, before LeBron left, I mean, he didn't have to do anything. He just...
I mean, you just had that team. I mean, he had to try to manage the personalities, which he's very good at.
But even LeBron isn't a huge personality. I mean, he is in that he wants control, but he's not going to do anything to the detriment of the team. It's not like you have Lance Stevenson on the team.
Hey, man, Born Ready's been balling, sort of ish.
Really bad defensively.
Yeah,
I watched some of Game 2 of that series, and Kevin Love, I think, scored 12 straight points on him.
He did get a little frustrated, but I mean, what's Indiana going to do? I mean, him or Rodney Stuckey?
The team's just not built to compete with the Cavs.
At least you got Lance Stevenson who'll get in somebody's ear. Literally get in somebody's ear.
And then blowing it. You remember that?
Lovingly. Oh, yeah, absolutely. I retweeted that on the Twitter account, Bradley, talking about LeBron and Stevenson's feud, how it dates back a lot further than the blowing in the ear incident.
So good. How did we get on this topic? We have a very strict set of things to talk about, and this is not on the list.
You're right. I'm sorry. So we're going to venture into NHL playoffs right now. So I don't know about you.
You want to start with that?
I mean, we were rolling on some basketball, but you said we have a strict schedule, so I figured I'd just go into hockey and throw you off.
Okay. You go for it. I'm going to sit back and drink a Frappuccino.
Yeah, this is Bradley's impression. He sent me a message like, hey, if we're going to record right now, I'm going to need coffee. So what does he do? We meet at Starbucks, and man gets a venti Java chip Frappuccino.
It's got coffee in it.
Like an ounce of coffee in it.
Still coffee. It's good. You want some?
You drinking coffee. You drink coffee at the equivalent of a middle schooler. I just want you to know that.
No, I drink real coffee through the week. But when I go to Starbucks, I mean, either I could pay $3 for a coffee or spend an extra $1 and get a fancy drink I can't make myself. I drink coffee all week, so during the weekends, I like to treat myself a little bit. Get a little fancy drink with a little sugar and ice and whipped cream and chocolate syrup. It's good. I can't make this at home. I can make coffee at home.
$10, you're going to get one on Thursday. $10.
For the draft, for the NFL draft?
You're going to get one. I know for a fact you're going to get one.
Yeah, I will. But that's technically the weekend for me because I have that Friday off. So, shut up.
All right, well, I wasn't factoring in loopholes here, but okay. I thought I had you.
Just talk about the playoffs. I'm going to drink my Frappuccino.
So, as icy as the Frappuccino Bradley is drinking is the hearts of the fans in Chicago. The Blackhawks got swept. Now, in my heart, I really wanted to pick the Predators. Because
Trash.
The Predators or Blackhawks?
Both.
You know what? My biases could come into play, and I would agree with you. But I'm going to keep it unbiased right here because actually both teams aren't trash. But anyway, the Blackhawks, it's 2 years in a row losing in the first round. That's a big deal. Because last year they lost in the first round to the Blues.
Why is it such a big deal? It happens all the time.
What,
were they the one seed or something?
Yes, they were definitely the 1 seed.
Oh.
And basically didn't score a goal. Like a goal.
They need that Alex Ovechkin guy. He could score.
Literally. That wasn't a good joke. I apologize. Can you edit that out?
I'm not editing that out. What was that laugh?
No, that was like one of the stories. Like Ovechkin, like to play well, he didn't think he could play well unless he hooked up with someone before the game.
I understood the joke. I don't understand the laugh. I'm not talking. We're past the joke. I'm talking about your weird chipmunk laugh there.
It was like an impression of the Gronk laugh after he was like 69. Yeah, that guy knows what it means. Because that's how he laughed. I was just trying to imitate Gronk.
Tell me, Lindsay, can you give me a number between 68 and 70 that you really like?
I think 70 is probably the speed limit. Back to you, Mike. Like what?
God, I love Gronk. He's so good.
Oh my gosh. Could you imagine that dude actually as a reporter? It'd be awful.
It would be great.
It'd be entertaining, but he wouldn't be good at it.
Oh, he couldn't be a real reporter.
No.
It would have to be like a joke
Dude,
thing.
Could you imagine Gronk on like 60 Minutes? That would be like the most. That'd be the most.
It'd be
like,
worse than Marshawn
thing.
Lynch on 60 Minutes.
Okay, Marshawn Lynch on 60 Minutes. What you gotta do is you gotta run fast. Because I can't say it how he says it.
That was a horrible.
It was a horrible impression.
But you just gotta run at them over and over and over and over again.
Is there any deeper meaning to that? Run over a mother face.
Way to censor yourself there, since this is a family show.
It is. I mean, that's kind of actually better censoring than most people would do.
So the Blackhawks.
Can you even name one player on the Blackhawks?
No, I legitimately can't.
Do you know what city they're in?
Chicago.
Okay, well
at
least you're listening there. Anyway, but yeah, I really wanted to pick the Predators.
I only know that because Michael Wilbon likes Chicago and I like PTI.
Hey, you know what? At least you're observant. I'll give you that. I'll give you that. Anyway, the Blackhawks, yeah, that did not look very good for them. I don't know what really happened with them because they didn't play well down the stretch, but you thought, I mean, no team in the league has as much playoff experience as they do. I mean, it's ridiculous. It's like the equivalent of Jeter's Yankees getting knocked out and manhandled and swept in the first round by like a squad of AAA players. No, that I take that back.
That's disrespectful.
I was trying to come up with like a good analogy.
It's a team that made the playoffs.
No, I disregard that because Nashville's a very good team. They're tweeting that out. You know what? I misspoke because I was trying to find a good 2001-2000 baseball analogy of a team that could have like knocked the Yankees out.
The Red Sox.
But the Red Sox had like really maybe Boston, but maybe like
the Predators made the playoffs, right?
Like the Oakland A's. Okay. Billy Bean and Moneyball just taking it to him.
Hey, Jonah Hill.
That's right. Paul DePodesta.
He's on the Browns now. See, I know hockey.
Segue. So, let's get back. Well, actually, I'll let you choose. Do you want to do fun topic or do you want to do NBA playoff analysis?
Let's do playoff analysis to make the listeners wait for the fun topic. Do you want to give a little tease as to what the fun topic is?
Okay, so we're borrowing this segment because it was a good talking point that me and Bradley were thinking about on the way back from Starbucks is of all the players and on all the teams that are not in the NBA playoffs, who would you draft? Who would you build your team around? So we're going to do like a top 3 kind of scenario here, like top 3 guys you would pick to build your team around, because that's a very intriguing question, and I think me and Bradley have a little bit of a disagreement when it comes to who we'd pick first.
Because you're stupid.
Because I'm looking at things a little differently than you are.
You're looking at things from 20 years ago.
I'm not looking at things from 20 years ago.
I think you're looking at things from 20 years ago.
Nope. You're wrong. Short-sighted. Short-sighted. Big man basketball. Give it to the big man in the post. DeAndre Jordan. Andre Drummond.
What?
I don't know, man. It's the coffee, I think.
Andre Drummond?
No, that's not who I'm not teasing. I'm just saying, like,
thank God.
I'm just saying, like,
I was
going
to have to quit this show if you think Andre Drummond's better than some of the
I mean, he's number
players.
2. I'm just kidding.
I'm done. I'm leaving. Goodbye.
Anyway, no, I was just going back to, like, the centers from 20 years ago who were, like, a dying breed. It's like DeAndre Jordan and Andre Drummond. They're the dying breed, unfortunately.
Greg Monroe, Dwight Howard.
Hey, Greg Monroe has kind of reinvented himself. Gobert is... I don't throw Gobert in there. Gobert, like, he's improved his offensive game immensely. Like, he's still got room to grow.
He has no range.
Yeah, he doesn't right now, but he's improved every season.
What's your point?
He's improved every season.
That doesn't matter. So is DeAndre Jordan. It doesn't matter. No, that's what I'm saying. The skill set of the big man that is dead is a lane clogger who gets rebounds, block shots, and shoots layups and dunks. I
think you're discrediting Gobert a little bit there.
I disagree
because I don't throw him in with like DeAndre Jordan.
Okay, what are Rudy Gobert's skill sets?
Defense.
Okay, thank you.
He's number 1 in like every category.
Thank you. So was Dwight Howard, and we put Dwight Howard in that category.
Yeah, Dwight Howard now.
You wouldn't have put Dwight Howard in that category before?
Not really. He was a different player then.
Okay.
He was a really good
Let me ask you this then. Can Rudy Gobert defend the perimeter?
No, but a lot of centers can't.
Okay, so he's... What? You make no sense. So he literally has the exact skill set of a center you would have loved to have had 20 years ago.
The center I'm talking about of 20 years ago, you throw it to him in the post, and he back to the basket, hook shot, layup kind of thing.
Okay. What does Rudy Gobert do?
Rudy Gobert has more room to grow, whereas DeAndre Jordan,
what is
I think
he right
is what
now?
he is.
What is he right now?
Right now, he is that. But that's why I'm saying.
Thank you.
That's why I'm not clumping him in there, because I don't think Drummond is going to
Andre Drummond's 22 years old.
Yeah, but you saw Andre Drummond this season. He got worse than he was last year. He's had one good year in his career.
I agree. He's also very young.
And it was his contract year.
He's also very young.
Yeah, he is very young.
I'm just saying your logic of not grouping Rudy Gobert in with Drummond and DeAndre Jordan because he has room to grow is asinine.
I just look at them in different respects because at least Rudy Gobert takes over a game exactly how, like, shot blocking.
What do you think Andre Drummond and DeAndre Jordan do?
Not the level Gobert does it. He's the best defensive player in the league.
That's not true.
Statistically,
I don't care what the statistics say. He's not. I would put Kawhi Leonard and Draymond above him. But
I mean, he's the best defender on the best defensive team in the league this season. Since you're talking about this season,
okay.
And I'm saying he's got room to improve. And then you're talking about this season, he's in the DeAndre Jordan class.
Yes, he is.
So then he's
statistically
the best defender in the league.
It's not the DeAndre Jordan class. It's the idea of the old style big man is what we were talking about. Yes or no?
Yes, we were talking a little bit about that.
Okay, what is the skill set of the old time big man, and does it look identical to the skill set of Gobert?
The old time big man is like very little offense unless they're getting an alley. Or dumping it to him in the low post with a layup. And then primarily defense. I think Gobert...
That sounds like Gobert.
Gobert's like a better passer than that, because a lot of the old school big man, they couldn't pass. Do you agree?
Not the greatest ones.
We're not talking about the greatest ones. We're talking about old school big man, which is like just the big dude that clogs the middle.
Arguably.
Gobert is quicker than that. He's not a lane clogger. He's more athletic. He's quicker. He can pass.
And that's why I asked if he could guard the perimeter. Because when I think of the center of today, I think of Anthony Davis, DeMarcus Cousins, Towns. I think of guys like that who can guard all five positions.
They're the center of the future, but I mean, there's not that many guys in the league that are like that.
Yes, but they're the center of the future. They aren't part of the dying breed. I wouldn't put Gobert in that category. That was my only point. Is that Gobert is part of the dying breed. He's exceptional. He's going to be all NBA this year, and if he's not, it's a travesty. But he is part of the dying breed.
Unless he, yeah. As he stands, then yes.
Last year's Andre Drummond was incredible. Andre Drummond, last year, part of a dying breed. You have to have range. You have to have good foot speed to keep up on the perimeter. And you have to be athletic. And Rudy Gobert is one of those three things.
Yeah, athletic.
Exactly. Yeah. I know. That's why that was my only point. And you can work on that. He's still young.
Oh yeah, that's why I think. That's why.
How is he as a free throw shooter?
I honestly don't have that number in front of me.
Okay.
But I think he's above average. From like he's not a liability like.
Well,
Drummond
because that's why I would say
Jordan.
Someone like Drummond and DeAndre Jordan have no chance of ever developing range.
Well, last season I know Gobert wasn't very great offensively, even though they gave him that contract. But this season he's like been a completely different player.
As long as he's not an offensive.
That's fine. He's not an offensive liability. Where last year he was.
I just don't appreciate you lying to my face, sir.
You got a little heated at me.
Well, because you're full of garbage.
I'm not full of garbage.
Oh, this is what a cat looks like. This person looks like a cat. I guess I shouldn't say person. This object looks identical to a cat. It talks like a cat. It walks like a cat, but it's not a cat. It is a dog.
But it quacks like a duck.
You're an idiot.
I can't reach my tea. Thank you.
Now who's drinking the garbage drinks? You don't even have coffee.
I had 4 today.
Well, I had 3 cups of coffee today. I had a cafe con leche, half sweet.
Ooh, I love
this
those.
morning.
Cafe con leche.
And then I had 2 free cups of coffee from work.
You know how I am
sometimes
with
you
Cuban
gotta
coffee.
take some free cheap coffee and dump a bunch of creamer in it. Makes it taste okay.
Yeah, it's 100% true.
Dude, the Cuban coffee shop next to my work, great coffee. Great.
I know the one you're talking about. Oh, it's so good. I used to go there after school.
Mediocre fancy drinks, but the cafe con leche, it's great.
Yeah, I liked their fancy drinks like back in the day, but that was before I really got into the coffee fancy drinks. So I was down with it.
Anyway, NBA playoffs.
Yeah, let's go to the NBA playoffs recap. So the future NBA champion Utah Jazz. Let's give them a little shout out. Because we've already talked about a lot about the Jazz, more than most of the national media.
Gobert's still out, correct?
Yes, he is, because he hyperextended his knee.
Okay, let's get a live look in at the score.
Okay. We're gonna time
because we're recording this Friday night. Okay, Jazz are up by 10 in the third, so it's looking good for the Jazz. They'll go up 2-1, probably.
I mean, classic Clippers, honestly. I mean, that's.
And do you think Doc's gonna lose his job if they lose?
I don't think Doc's gonna lose his job if they lose. The one thing I would say might happen with Doc is he won't have full control. They'll bring somebody else in to manage more of the day-to-day trade discussions.
And I think
everything.
You have to,
because they needed to make a move, and they did nothing.
The top end of that roster has been so good for so long, and the back half has just been bad. Chris Paul hasn't been good enough. Blake Griffin hasn't been good enough.
And Doc keeps paying those guys.
I mean,
you
have to though.
Well, no, I mean like the guys like at the back of the bench that like haven't really been good, but he still keeps trying.
Austin Rivers and guys like that.
Like Austin Rivers, I mean, he's all right. I mean, he's better than I expected him to be this season, but I mean,
I think part of their problem is they're playing old style basketball.
They 100% are.
They have an old style center, an old style power forward, and an old style point guard.
That's exactly what it is.
I mean, DeAndre Jordan is in the class we were just talking about.
And they're all getting older.
Blake Griffin a decade ago would have been. I mean, he's great now. He's a good player.
I just don't think
he won't be all NBA this year. He's an all-star, but he is not dynamic. And he's a player that's actually tried really hard to work on his range.
He has. I will give him credit on that.
His ball handling, stuff like that. But
he's much improved from where he was.
He is. But he's still, his primary game's post-up. And you can't do that anymore. And then you have Chris Paul, Where in today's NBA, you need your point guard to be a dynamic playmaker, and he's not. He's the facilitator. He's the textbook point guard of a decade ago. Well,
Right.
we keep saying a decade ago. It's really as recent as 5 years ago.
Honestly, yes.
And he was textbook. He is textbook on how you think of the point guard position. But today, your point guard has to be able to take over a game for at least a few possessions, and Chris Paul can't. He shoots some. He's got a decent stroke, but
see, I feel like Chris Paul was more of that guy when he was in New Orleans, when it was just him. Because I mean, he would take over a series. He was more of the point guard you want today. And then you just moved out to LA, and then I mean, he became more the facilitator.
And maybe part of that is he actually has other really talented players with him in LA, so he's wanting to facilitate. Part of it's probably he's getting older. He's losing some of that athleticism.
Right.
Who knows?
And I know last podcast we talked about it, how like the Clippers have to blow it up or whatever. But honestly, from the reports I'm seeing, they already basically have a handshake deal with Chris Paul. Like they're gonna $200 million. Yeah, that they're gonna sign him, just give him all the money.
I really thought they were gonna let him and Blake walk.
I think it's about a lock that Blake is gone, because I mean, if you have DeAndre Jordan, and Blake isn't DeAndre Jordan, he's improved a little bit, but you kind of want a little bit of a different guy.
And that's kind of the bad thing, is I could see Blake. I don't know how he's a little soft defensively, not to be disrespectful.
And I think Zebo would manhandle that.
I think that's what's keeping them from doing this. But he would be a great stretch 5.
No, he would. I was thinking the exact same thing.
Dump or dish DeAndre Jordan, or somehow live with the fact that you're paying $100 million to a bench player, Blake Griffin would be one of the best centers in today's NBA, because he doesn't have great range. His range is good enough. He's super athletic. He can guard the perimeter. He's got decent ball handling skills. I think he's just too weak on defense.
He's got a mid-range game. I think that is the thing. I think he would honestly be about like a Vucevic kind of player as a 5.
He's like, his game's a lot like Kevin Garnett without the defense. He's a great mid-range player, and offensively it would work perfectly. And rebounding, he's a good rebounder. He's a
really good rebounder.
It's the defense is all it is.
Yeah, because I mean, you saw those series. Like that's part of the reason why the Clippers would get bounced in the first round or second round a couple times, because they would go up against the Grizzlies back with like Lionel Hollins and everything, and Zebo just punch him in the mouth every possession, even though Blake Griffin's 10 years younger, more athletic, and bigger than Zebo, but Zebo would just take it to him.
And at the 4, you can kind of get away with it right now, because Zebo is basically a dead breed. As in, like, you don't really have back to the basket 4s anymore. Those guys play the 5. Zebo plays 15 minutes a game. We don't talk about Zebo.
Zebo is potentially 6th man of the year. Like, he actually is getting a lot of consideration for it. He's been averaging like a double-double lately.
We're not talking about Zebo.
He's got a good mid-range
We are not talking about Zebo.
I'm just saying, you told me to be respectful. You need to be respectful to Zach Randolph.
I am. He's an amazing player.
He's the most rugged guy in the game.
He's past his prime.
Well, yeah.
I'm talking about every other team. My point was, nobody really plays like Zebo does at the 4. Anyone who still plays back to the basket plays the 5. That was my point. If you would have let me make it,
well, you didn't let me make mine earlier.
You gotta go on talking about Zebo. Zebo should win MVP.
I gave you 45
the
solid
Grizzlies are
seconds.
still gonna win the championship. They're the favorites for sure.
I didn't say that.
Anyway,
not seriously. But hey, I just did the same thing to you what you did to me.
Can I finish my point?
Yeah, if you quit talking nonsense, go for it.
Blake Griffin can get by on defense at the position he's at because of the stretch 4 thing. He's a decent perimeter defender. He's not a great post-up defender.
Right.
If he were to play the 5, he would go against better post-up players, which is why I don't think he could do it. Thank you. Thank you for letting me get through that.
You know where he'd be a good fit? The Rockets. Not really.
He's not a good. See, it's the same problem.
Yeah, because
You wouldn't want him and Clint Capella on the floor at the same time, and he's not a good enough defender.
Yeah, it would have to be like in place of Clint Capella. I don't think that was going to happen at all, but I just thought like just the primarily like the rebounding center who could also stretch the floor a little bit. But
And it's kind of upsetting because if you Blake Griffin,
I mean, he's rookie of the
could,
year.
If he could just play defense better, he could be a top NBA center in today's NBA. I don't know. Because you saying that just made me imagine, wow, now the Rockets have another guy who can shoot some threes. It's their center, who's a great rebounder, and he can score inside.
Well, that's why there was talk about Ibaka going to Houston at the deadline, because could you imagine Ibaka on that team? Because Ibaka can hit the three pretty consistently for his size, especially.
No, that would have been a great fit.
And talking about a guy who had zero range coming into the league and developed range, that is Serge Ibaka.
And he's a pretty decent three-point shooter now.
Yeah, he doesn't have a bad shot. When I first saw him taking threes, I think we were watching a game together, and I was like, "What the heck is Ibaka doing? Like, why are you trying this?" And
I mean, it's the same thing as Blake Griffin, really. A couple years ago, you just see like every other game he'll just jack one up, and it'll usually be a bad shot. But it just shows you that those guys are working on it, and slowly over time they get better. I mean, I've seen Dwight Howard jack one up from his Orlando days.
That is true. I have seen that too.
And it went in. The only one I ever saw him shoot, it went in. So, I don't know.
I mean, because back in the heyday, Dwight Howard, he was the man.
He was a decent ball handler. Look.
I mean, played point guard in high school.
I know a lot of people have a lot of bad things to say about Dwight Howard. His prime Orlando days, like that finals year, he was fun to watch.
Oh, he was one of the most exciting players to watch in the league, and a lot of people thought it was the next Orlando dynasty, but then just all went south.
Pretty much. All right, rest of the NBA playoffs. The Celtics, they're down 2-1 right now. They'll be fine. I think they're going to win.
Yeah, since Rondo's hurt.
I think Rondo being hurt, and the Bulls just aren't that good.
No, they're not that good at all, but Rondo kind of turned back the clock. I mean, honestly.
He's played great.
Because he basically meshed the Jimmy Buckets, D-Wade group with the young guys that Rondo likes, and then kind of made it all gel together, and they're playing as a team for once.
And suddenly Fred Hoiberg's a good coach, but maybe not, because now the Celtics just won by almost 30. So I think the Celtics will be fine. They're the better team. It's a 7-game series. I don't think they're going to get out of the next round, which is them against the Wizards.
No chance. Well, small chance, but I don't think it's going to happen.
Now, the upset I do think has a good chance of happening is the Raptors being down 2-1 to Giannis Antetokounmpo.
Antetokounmpo. That's such a fun name to say.
The Bucks are playing
Fear the Deer,
really well.
Fear the Deer. Dude, I won't ever really count the Raptors out, because last season we thought basically in every series, like, well, the Raptors are done.
Well, and they're so much more talented overall than Giannis. Giannis is by far the best player in that series.
Oh, best player on the floor.
But if you were to draft from both teams, Giannis goes 1, and I think there's 4 Raptors that go next before you get to another Buck.
Oh, I definitely agree with you there. I mean,
so
maybe Middleton's the only debate.
But, I mean, you got Kyle Lowry, you got DeRozan, you got Ibaka, you got oh gosh, what is their center's name?
Valanciunas.
Yeah,
I would pick Middleton over Valanciunas, I think.
But you could have the debate.
Exactly. Yeah, I agree.
So
with you.
even if you just want to say 3, that means your overall team's significantly more talented, and they have more depth. But the Raptors always struggle in the playoffs, and I'm not sure why. But
I think the injury to Lowry really hampered them this year, because Lowry, you can still tell, isn't 100%.
But is it because of the injury, though? Because he looks like this every year in the playoffs.
He does,
and I feel so bad for him, because he's
a great regular season player.
He's truly a top 20 guy in the league. He's a top 7 or 8 point guard. He's great. He's very good. But when it gets to the playoffs, he's one of the least efficient players of all time.
I will give you that, but his quote to me that signified that there may be trouble to come for the Raptors is at the end of the season where he said, "Yeah, it still hurts, but I'm medically clearing myself to play." Because Kyle
Well,
Lowry's like,
but how much does it hurt? How much of that was just him trying to look cool? Because everybody's hurting. I mean, when you've
I
played
don't
this
think
much
it's John Wall
basketball,
status, like where like 2 years ago he literally played in the playoffs with a broken wrist.
that was
and he
he had
balled,
no business playing either.
and he was playing well.
John Wall is incredible.
He just gets overlooked so much.
Other than Russell Westbrook, he's probably the most athletic guy in the league as far as like pure speed and agility.
And they're both like similar kind of players too.
Yeah,
like
except
attitude.
John Wall is actually a point guard. Anyway,
okay, Skip Bayless.
Cavs, they're gonna beat the Pacers because the Pacers can't close a game. Paul George is incredible though. For everyone, including myself, that forgot about him this season because he hasn't been great, he's still incredible.
His team was 500 the entire season until basically.
Yeah, but
like,
he
the very
was
end.
mediocre all year. He was fine all year, and then the very end he turned it on.
Yeah.
He didn't put up great numbers. Here's a question.
Okay, shoot.
If you had to pick one, say they're already signed long term, don't worry about the contracts. Jimmy Butler or Paul George?
I think I go Jimmy Buckets, a little younger.
He's not younger.
He's not? I'm pretty sure he's like at least a year or two
I think
younger.
Paul George is 26 and Jimmy Butler's 27.
I thought Paul George was 28.
Hang on. Paul George age. Hang on. Google will tell us.
Okay, because that's what I'm factoring in. Because I was thinking Butler's 26 and Paul George is 28.
Paul George is 26.
He's 26? Okay.
Jimmy Butler, I believe, is 27. Yep, Jimmy Butler's 27.
Okay, never mind.
Paul George has been in the league longer, but Jimmy Butler is a year older.
That's what made me
So
think
Paul
of
George
that.
has more miles on his legs.
More miles. Well, literally.
And I think
Speaking
it
of his
basically comes down to, because neither one have seemed to be great team leaders. So I think I'd call that a tie.
Yeah. I guess so. If anything, I give the edge to Paul George a little bit. At least he's got a little bit more playoff experience.
And he didn't divide his team in half this season like Jimmy Butler did. Jimmy Butler is a top 10, maybe top 5 defensive player in the league. So he's obviously the better defensive player.
Right.
But Paul George is no scrub.
No,
he's a good
not.
defensive player,
He's
but
a really good defender.
He's not Jimmy Butler status. And then I would take Paul George offensively. I think he's a better pure scorer.
He's a little more versatile, I think.
Jimmy Butler, a lot of his game, sort of like Kawhi Leonard, has been developed over time. He's not a natural scorer. He's had to develop a good jump shot, good fundamentals, whereas Paul George can just get buckets. Like some guys are just natural scorers. Isaiah Thomas, Russell Westbrook, LeBron, Kyrie. They just have a knack for getting the ball in the basket. Whereas Jimmy Butler's more of the fundamentals, do what I've practiced and developed sort of thing. I think I would take Paul George because I think in today's NBA you need someone to be able to take over offensively, and I trust Paul George more in those clutch moments, even though Jimmy Butler has been great these playoffs. What do you think? Still take
honestly,
Jimmy Buckets?
No, I agree with you. I was under the impression, that Jimmy Buckets was a little younger.
And it feels like Jimmy Butler's only been in the league for a few years.
Exactly, because I guess it's the whole aspect of, he started out kind of on the bench and then grew and grew and grew, so we still look at him as, like, developing.
And even though Paul George did the same thing, with Paul George it happened over the course of a couple years. With Jimmy Butler it was a few years.
He was like, exactly, and Jimmy Butler wasn't like the key piece of that team for a long time because you're looking at Noah, you were looking at Rose and everything, and then Jimmy Butler ended up being the guy, okay, this is the guy that's going to be the next great Chicago Bull.
Yeah, whereas Paul George, really, Danny Granger was going to be the guy, and then he fell off the face of the earth, and they kind of turned to Paul George and said, hey, it's your team. And Paul George really stepped up to the plate.
And Paul George is one of my favorite players in the league, so, I mean, it's very close between the two, but I think I'm with you because Paul George, you can just see him taking over a series.
If you're ranking players in the NBA, they may be right next to each other.
Probably, honestly, they probably
around
would be right.
like 10 or 11 next to each other. Anyway, sorry for that sidetrack. Who else we got? The Warriors are going to beat the Trailblazers. No one thought they'd have a problem. The Spurs are going to beat
The
the
Grizz?
Grizz.
You mean the Memphis
yeah.
Fizz? The Memphis Fizzlies.
You want to take this opportunity to transition into your boy,
Okay,
Fizdale?
who doesn't love David Fizdale at this moment?
Take that for data.
Take that for data.
What does that even mean? That's such a great clip.
That is such a great
If you
line.
haven't heard that, please go look up Fizdale's
I think I've retweeted it
rant.
on the Twitter account.
Yeah, look at the Twitter. There we go. Get some clicks. Look at the Twitter of his rant after Game 2, and he ends his speech with an all-time great line that nobody knows what it means. Take that for data.
Honestly, his argument was so on point, though.
And I love how he started it as, now I'm not a numbers guy, and then just rattled off statistic after statistic after statistic.
Like, basically right off the cuff. Like, it's like he knew just going in. And it was, the way he put it, it didn't sound whiny either. Like, because most coaches in that situation, you'll see a coach just, like, blaming something on the refs. And you think, oh, whiner, you should have a better team, coach better, whatever. Him, you're like, wow, you know what? He's got a point.
So basically, if you don't know, after Game 2, it really felt like Kawhi was living at the free throw line.
He was.
So Fizdale, you're a little biased in this conversation.
I mean, take that for data. The numbers never lie.
It's take that for data.
I say data. I don't want to.
Yeah, but don't disrespect our Lord and Savior, Fizdale.
Okay, now that's going a little far. That's going a little far. But I'm saying that take that for data because I can't get as close to what Fizz did, so I have to say it
anyway, just to tell you what's going on. So he is just spouting statistics about how they shot more times in the paint, yet they shot significantly less free throws. Was basically the gist. Was Kawhi Leonard shot more free throws than the entire Grizzlies team, even though the Grizzlies shot a ton more in the paint than the Spurs. And while this was a compelling argument in pure numbers, it is important to remember context. I mean, yeah, it's a great argument, but if you weren't getting fouled, you weren't getting fouled. And the Kawhi stuff, I get. He's getting superstar calls that players on the Grizzlies aren't getting.
Well,
And I didn't watch all of that game, but I do think context is important. They may have had significantly fewer calls than they should have. They may have only had a couple missed calls. I don't really know. I just think context is important.
I think when you look at it, when you see a team that plays a little bit of a rougher basketball style, like down in the paint, that's grind basketball. That's what the Grizzlies do. You have Marc Gasol and Zach Randolph down there just getting beat up. Like, that's what the Grizzlies do. So when you see something like Zach Randolph didn't get to the line at all in that game.
But that's the question. Did he get fouled? And I didn't watch the game.
It looked like he got fouled a lot because there were a lot of times, a lot of the calls the Spurs were getting were on 3-point shots, where it was something where it looked like really ticky-tack stuff, and then you see the Grizzlies down in the paint getting like elbowed, and then nothing gets called. And you saw Mike Conley. Fizdale talked about how Conley's the epitome of class, which he is. Like, Conley was getting riled up, like throwing his hands up in the air. Like, for most stars, that's like nothing. But for Mike Conley to even show that much emotion out on the court, something's going on.
Is as cool as they come.
Oh, really? I mean, his line in reference to what Fizdale said and in reference to the refs and the foul calls, he was asked, do you think the referees respect you? And his quote is, in regards...
this is paraphrased, by the way.
Oh, paraphrase, yes.
Nobody's reading an actual quote.
I'm not reading an actual quote. This is paraphrased. The paraphrase quote basically was, in regards to getting foul calls, no, but I really think they like me as a person. That's the most Mike Conley thing ever.
I love Mike Conley so much.
That's the most Mike Conley thing ever.
He's just such a good dude. I love it.
But what Fizdale did for that team, I mean, that really brought the team together. I mean, he had his team's back because, I mean, the players can't go out and say that.
No, you're right.
And honestly, the organization has to be happy about it because everybody was talking about the Grizzlies because it was the last thing that happened that night, and it was an all-time great rant.
It was a great rant, and the fact that he ended it with something that's probably going to be remembered alongside playoffs and stuff like that is good for the organization, I guess, from a PR perspective. I don't think
PR
it
and
helps them in the
marketing.
long run.
I think it does a little bit, at least. Having players' backs, that goes a long way. Because, I mean, if a guy, this is just a hypothetical, has the option of signing in Chicago or in Memphis, dude might take Memphis because of Fizdale over Hoiberg.
Or he might take Chicago to be able to play with Jimmy Butler, which I think is more of what players think of in the NBA.
It depends on the player.
I think the NBA is a little different than other sports where it is player centric. There are very few coaches that are actual difference makers in the NBA. You got Pop, and that's basically it.
It's really just
Other
Pop.
than that, it's all players. The players want to play with other great players. The players want to run the show. The players want to be put in positions to be great. That's why everyone wants to play with either LeBron or the Warriors right now, or the Spurs, because they want to play in great situations.
I just do think it adds some respect because Fizdale is a first-year head coach, and that helps him.
It helps
a lot.
His pedigree a bit.
Oh yeah,
I just
because he has championship pedigree from all the years down in Miami. Like he was crucial to them as an assistant coach.
Yeah, and he was a highly sought after assistant coach to get a head coaching job. And I think he's done a pretty decent job. But I also don't want to overstate how important this moment is for him in his career, other than becoming a meme.
I think Fizz is just going to run with it. The Memphis Fizzlies for changing the name.
Take that for data.
Take that for data.
I think we got through all the series.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, good enough.
Let's do it. So, speaking of let's do it, let's go to our fun conversation. Shout out to Levitard Show. Anyway, let's get into our fun conversation where we get to play GM. So, let's talk about this non-playoff team draft. And to quote the great movie Draft Day, which we both recommend if you haven't seen it, who you picking?
Who would I take first out of every player that's not in the playoffs right now?
Yes.
I think it's very, very easy to pick the first one. I think when you get past the first pick, it's a little harder. The first pick is Anthony Davis. And it's not even close, in my opinion.
See, that's where I would think Davis is who I thought of first, but then I thought Karl Anthony Towns.
And he would be second.
See, that's just the one debate. Like, do you want number one, or do you pick him number one or number two? My thing with taking Karl Anthony Towns potentially over Anthony Davis is, I think, the wear and tear on Anthony Davis. The health is a question mark with him.
Yes, it is promising that he got through this season okay.
Yes, it is, because that's his first one.
This was probably the season that he played the most games in his whole career. I don't know that for sure, but I would assume maybe 2 years ago when they went to the playoffs, but I think he was out like 30 games in that season too.
Oh, he was, yeah.
Basically, with those two, I think Anthony Davis is the better player overall. You would be taking Towns based on potential and 2 seasons of durability.
2 seasons of durability and potential, and which
is fair.
I think he's going to be one of the next like great stars in the league.
But I also think Anthony Davis is.
See, but we've been having this conversation for a long time. Like, when is Anthony Davis gonna actually? Because he's been the next LeBron for the next last 5 years.
There's a difference in what we're talking about. If we were saying pick anyone in the NBA other than LeBron, Anthony Davis would be down the list.
Oh yeah,
he wouldn't be first. So we're not talking about who's the next LeBron. The next LeBron's Kawhi Leonard. We're watching him right now.
Oh, absolutely. It's not Anthony Davis.
Anyway,
no offense,
we're only talking about players who didn't make the playoffs, and generally, if you have a superstar, you're going to make the playoffs. So we only have a few superstars to work with. I just think Anthony Davis's skill set is top tier. It's right now better than Karl Anthony Towns. So you would be taking Karl Anthony Towns.
I would, yes.
Under the assumption that he's going to get to where Anthony Davis is now.
Right.
Which I think is a fair assumption. I think you're right overall. But really, this comes down to the same discussion that we have like every week.
Yeah.
The Kirk Cousins, Jimmy Garoppolo.
Flow discussion.
Do you take the proven commodity or the potential?
It's just the different sports, I guess, is how I look at basketball a little differently than I look at football.
And I think Karl Anthony Towns is the other correct answer in this question. I would take Anthony Davis because he's the better player and hope that his injury situation is behind him.
Because he's starting to get a little bit more mileage. I mean, he's still really young, but it's just
he's like 24. He's still really young. He's younger
than Karl Anthony Towns is 20.
True.
True. He's got a 4-year gap here.
Yeah, but one is a better player than the other right now.
Right now. That's why I generally tend to go with the youth whenever I do any hypothetical drafting.
I mean, it's not like we're talking about Giannis here.
No, we're not talking about Giannis. I mean, I'd pick Giannis.
Giannis is the next LeBron.
You just said Kawhi was. But...
Well, I was about to backtrack. I think the difference, if we can go here for a second and sidetrack, Kawhi is what we talked about before with Jimmy Butler. He's not a natural scorer. He's got to pick and choose his spots, even though he scores 26, 27, 28 a game.
And he can take over a game.
He is very fundamental about his game. He looks like a student of the game. Whereas
looks like a new Tim Duncan.
Giannis is Kevin Durant, but more athletic. I mean, Giannis is
going to be Giannis. Like, I think he's going to be in his own category.
I mean,
honestly.
He's LeBron. I mean, he's the athletic dude that's going to run past you and slam it in your face and then take a jump shot from outside and be decent at it. He wins with pure athleticism, and he's a natural born scorer and a great defender. Anyway, back to the conversation at hand. We wanted 3 players. Would you take Anthony Davis 2?
Oh yeah, I'd probably take Anthony Davis 2.
Okay.
I had another person pop into my mind, but it's more of a discussion on the health side with him than it would be with Anthony Davis.
Who was that?
Embiid.
And I was thinking about taking him 3. He's so
dynamic, man.
I am so concerned as to whether it's him or the 76ers right now. Because the 76ers training staff, their doctor people, have apparently not done a very good job. I mean, they said after his injury that he'd be right back, and then 6 weeks later they took him out for the season, and the same sort of thing happened to Ben Simmons.
That's the thing. Part of me thinks it's the front office, honestly, because Colangelo is getting a lot of crap for that because he's acting really shady, especially with the whole injury thing, because he'd just be like, Ben Simmons is traveling with the team, he's getting ready, and then you keep waiting for it. It's like, we're shutting him down for the season. And then the same thing happened with Embiid, because Embiid was out and active and doing things and took some criticism because he was dancing at a concert, like at a Drake concert, like on his bad knee, supposedly.
And I wonder if Embiid's health problems this year were his body's fault or the 76ers' fault, or if there was even a problem, or if they were just tanking again. I don't know.
I think it ended up that they were just tanking again. I think it was just... I saw a report, and somebody put it in a good light, that Colangelo was basically just being Sam Hinkie, but with like a little bit more respect in the league, because of his family history in the league and his history in the league. That's basically like what it was.
So, Embiid, I was thinking about 3. I was also thinking about Boogie, of course.
You were thinking of Boogie? Because see, this is where we differ. Because I know who I think I'm picking 3. Devin Booker. That man can score, bro.
I feel like he's got Russell Westbrook syndrome. And I don't want Russell Westbrook on my team.
Dude, Booker is going to be a star, man. I mean, he can... I mean, you can't factor in like what he did this season, because towards the end of the year, I mean, his whole team basically conspired like, hey, all right, like, especially in the 70-point game, they were wanting him to get 70 points because what else do the Suns have to play for?
Oh, yeah. I just want to see more from him. I want to see it a little bit longer. Let me throw some more names out there. Let's see what sticks. Andrew Wiggins.
Very good. More...
Underachieving. is,
little
I
bit.
think, the first word that pops into my mind.
He's not there as a scorer yet. He's very, very good defensively. He's just not there as a scorer yet.
He's a pretty decent wing scorer, but you're right, he's not great.
Another person you brought up who I thought of, Ben Simmons, who's apparently officially 7 feet tall now, so he could be another
Which is
Giannis.
crazy. You're basically you have point guard skills at 7 feet tall.
And the main question with him is he going to actually have a consistent 3-point shot? Because that's where he really lacks right now, because he's just an athletic freak.
Let's see, who else we got? Drummond, no.
KCP? Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, for you all who do not know KCP.
No.
Brooke Lopez.
No.
Hey.
No, I think
Evan Fournier?
No.
Dion Waiters?
No.
James Johnson?
No. Whiteside.
Nerlens Noel?
Dragic perhaps belongs in that third spot's consideration. But I think we got the top.
Kemba?
Kemba's interesting. I wouldn't take him over any of the guys we seriously mentioned before with Wiggins or even Devin Booker. I don't think I'd take him above Devin Booker.
I don't think I'd take him over Devin Booker, but I mean, Kemba he's a really good player and he's very solid all around. And honestly, I mean, I obviously believe that since I basically trade for him every franchise I do in NBA 2K.
He's just such great value.
Oh my gosh, his contract 3 years at like change. Oh, and he's your starting point guard and your star player. Like, sign me up every day.
So I think my third pick, I think in order I would go Anthony Davis 1, Towns 2, and Andrew Wiggins 3. I think I'd take Andrew Wiggins and hope that he can develop into a better wing scorer. I'm just not as big of a Devin Booker fan as you, I suppose.
I guess that's really just what it is. Because if I was going to do the draft, I would go Karl Anthony Towns 1, Buddy Hield 2, Devin Booker 3.
This is a serious sports show?
Omer Asik 4.
This is a serious sports show. Can you properly recap your choices?
Fine. I would go Karl Anthony Towns 1. I'd probably go Anthony Davis 2, even though I'm not as big of a believer in him as you are and most people are. Just because of the durability.
Oh, I'm with you on the skepticism.
Yeah, okay.
I just think it's sort of slim pickings
at this
with
point,
this list,
right?
And I'm just going off the talent. I think Anthony Davis is the most talented player left, and you got to hope that he stays healthy.
Right. I would probably go. Yeah, I'd go Karl Anthony Towns 1. I would go Anthony Davis 2. I would go Devin Booker 3, and then basically it comes down to. I know we weren't doing 4 picks, but the rest of the discussion is, do you want somebody like Kemba Walker, or do you want to try to take a shot on either one of the Lakers guys?
Or do you roll the dice on Embiid?
Exactly. Do you roll the dice on Simmons or Embiid just based off of what you've seen from Embiid when he's actually been on the floor, which was filthy?
I don't think Simmons is worthy of this discussion because we haven't seen it. For all we know, he could not play well against
just the
NBA
whole
talent.
It's the whole draft discussion aspect of it, though, because if this draft was really happening, Ben Simmons would be picked in the top 5.
No,
he'd be in top 10 for sure.
He would be top 10, but
somebody would
I
take
wouldn't
a chance
take him
on
over Embiid. Embiid, we've seen greatness. We've seen him be in the conversation for Rookie of the Year, and he only played 40 games.
Some teams would pick Simmons over Embiid, though. There are teams
I think
out
they'd
there.
be wrong.
I mean, I agree with you. I think they'd be wrong, but the whole fact that it's a 7-footer that has the skill
it's
set.
It's basically a 7-foot point guard.
7-foot point guard, exactly.
It's Magic Johnson.
Except taller. Yeah, exactly. Like, that's too intriguing for somebody to pass up.
I agree. I agree.
So, the next big debate we have to do.
Okay, I'm ready.
Can you win a title with Russ?
No. Next question.
Next question. Sorry, I tried to do the Drew Rosenhaus there.
That wasn't very good.
That wasn't good.
So, no. And let me explain why. One, what could you possibly add around Russell Westbrook that would make a championship-worthy team that's better than what already existed?
I don't know. I mean, I think if you
City?
added James Harden and Kevin Durant, as well as Serge Ibaka and Kendrick Perkins. That'd probably be a pretty good core of a roster.
If they were all 2 years older, that team would have been disgusting.
For real. Could you imagine? Because that was still like Ibaka's just a shot blocker, Ibaka. And then could you imagine like today's Ibaka on that team?
All I want in life is LeBron Miami Heat, that Thunder team a little bit older, and today's Warriors minus Kevin Durant, all in the league at the same time.
No, you know the matchup I want to see?
What's that?
It would be the 4 friends on a team.
5 years ago.
Yeah, all in their prime. So you'd have LeBron, CP3, D-Wade, and Melo all on a team and throw whatever kind of center you want out there.
This really turns into a question of, do you take 2000s All-Stars or 2010 All-Stars?
Exactly, because I would love to see that.
Interesting.
The 4 friends, I would even say the 4 friends today, present day, versus Oklahoma City, what they could have been, and then the Warriors, but without, KD.
But, I mean, really, in their prime, what team do you take? Do you take LeBron, D-Wade, Chris Paul, Melo? Do you take KD, Russ, James Harden, Ibaka? Or do you take Steph, Clay, Draymond, and I don't know who you want to put at the last spot. Iggy in his prime? Sure, why not?
Yeah.
He's a great player. All-star caliber player.
Man, that's a tough... I honestly, I would go with the Thunder group. I mean, because that's 4 guys that can do everything.
And see, the only thing I'm worried about the Thunder group is
more of
the ball dominance.
The ball dominance and the mental aspect of it. Because
it's Russell Westbrook. Because you've replaced Russell Westbrook with with Clay. Put Clay in instead of Russell Westbrook? Yes, give me that team. Because you have James Harden at the point, facilitating to Kevin Durant, Ibaka, and Clay. That would be disgusting. I mean, that's basically what you have right now with the Warriors. You have Steph facilitating to KD and Clay, or Draymond facilitating to KD, Steph, and Clay. I would probably take LeBron's team because I think LeBron's that great.
I agree with you, but the only thing that would... It was the conversation we didn't have on air, but we were having earlier. Melo just drags it all down for me. I agree. Melo drags it all down, and then LeBron needs to be your facilitator on that team, so I don't know really how Chris Paul would adjust.
What I see in that offense would be Melo becomes the little white guy on the college team that sits in the corner and shoots threes when it's passed to him. Because Chris Paul...
Can Melo take a back seat, though?
And, I mean, this is all hypothetical. They're friends, so you'd think he would give them a little bit more leeway. Because he's an ISO player, but he's also a great shooter. If you have CP3 and LeBron facilitating for him, I think he would be okay with it. What I don't think he's okay with is guys that aren't as proven as him trying to run the team, and he wants to be the leader of the team, and he wants to do his thing.
Right. It's
an interesting discussion.
And he seems to have taken a little bit of a backseat whenever he plays in the Olympics, but I mean, how can you not take a backseat when...
That's a whole different feel.
Yeah, exactly.
You're not playing for money, you're playing for
country.
Your country. And...
Right. So, I wasn't planning on having that discussion, but that popped into my head.
No, it was a good discussion. And then if you want to make it even more interesting...
The Young Guns team?
Throw the early 2000 stars in there with Kobe, Shaq, 2 more players.
Kobe, Shaq,
Steve Nash, and I don't know. Anybody.
I got even a better...
Okay.
Another potential addition to this tournament.
Give it to me.
The other guy's team. Like almost the more unproven. So you'd have Kawhi,
Jimmy Butler, Paul George,
Giannis. Like,
give me that team.
Yeah,
that team's disgusting.
That team would be disgusting. Like, makeup of, like, basically our discussion, but made up of all the other teams we weren't talking about. So you'd have, like, Giannis, you'd have Kawhi, you'd have Paul George, and then, I mean, that's
all you need.
I mean, really, that's
There's
all
a
you
title
need.
right there.
But at this point, you'd have Kawhi playing small. You'd have
Jimmy
Giannis.
Butler. Throw Jimmy Butler in there.
Oh yeah,
too.
Jimmy Butler. I forgot you said Jimmy Butler. Throw Jimmy Butler in there, and John Wall at point.
That's disgusting.
That's just disgusting.
Anyway, Russell Westbrook.
Yes.
So Russell Westbrook had the second best player in basketball, top 40 player all time, in Kevin Durant, and they couldn't get it done.
And part of that, you have to give him some respect. KD kind of morphed into Westbrook ball as well. They were both playing hero ball.
Oh,
last
when
season,
they choked.
When they choked, they were both playing hero ball.
That last game they were. I agree. But so my problem with Russell Westbrook is he's too ball dominant. So for example, in game 2 of the Thunder Houston series, he was incredible. 51 points. He was the first player ever in the NBA playoffs to have a 50-point triple-double. Incredible night. He shot 4 for 18 in the fourth quarter, and it led to the Rockets making a comeback and winning.
Well, part of that was him on the bench as well.
He was 4 for 18 in the fourth quarter.
Oh, it's terrible, but...
He took 18 shots in the fourth quarter and missed almost all of them. That's not acceptable.
Who else is he going to give it to?
Anybody. It doesn't matter.
Steven Adams was playing like crap.
Give it
that
to
game.
Oladipo. I don't care. You have to give it to somebody if you're shooting that poorly. And my problem with him is he's too ball dominant, man. Even Kobe knew when to pass it sometimes. And Russell Westbrook isn't Kobe.
But Kobe had Shaq too. I mean,
well, the first half of his career.
First half of his career. Then he had Pau Gasol.
Pau Gasol's not Shaq.
No, he's not Shaq, but he's a star. I mean, Pau Gasol's
He's
still...
very good. He's Pau Gasol in his prime's better than anyone on the Thunder other than Russell Westbrook.
Yes.
I agree with that.
Yeah.
Pau Gasol in his prime's not Kevin Durant.
No, he's not Kevin Durant.
Which is my point. Russell Westbrook isn't good enough as an individual scorer to do what Kobe used to do, or even what MJ used to do. He takes too many shots. He's too inefficient. He's one of the most inefficient players this year, even though he's going to win the MVP. And he hogs the ball too much. I mean, even if you put Paul George on that team, Paul George isn't going to get the ball as much as he should.
Well, he did facilitate more last season, though, because it was more of Russell Westbrook, what we all thought he could become. It's just in the end, they reverted back to what they had always been.
He was slightly better.
Yeah, because you have to give him credit for that. Because this season, I mean, what else was Russell Westbrook going to do? I mean, his number 2 option is Victor Oladipo.
Or Steven Adams.
And
who's an old-style big man.
Who Steven Adams is an old-style big man who's going to, knock you in the teeth down low. I mean, exactly.
Tell me the players that you put around Russell Westbrook that lets them win a championship that's reasonable.
Well, honestly, I think this season it would have made a difference had they even just had Ibaka still there.
But they wouldn't have won a title.
They wouldn't have won a title, but you wouldn't have seen what you see with Russell Westbrook this season, like him just basically ball hogging the entire time. If
I think you would have seen
there.
It pretty much the same.
Pretty much, but I mean,
he probably wouldn't have broken the record for triple doubles, but he would have had 20.
Oh, he would have had at least 20 triple doubles. I agree, because it just would have been him and Ibaka. But honestly, they had some chemistry together at least, so he would revert to Ibaka.
I just don't see a situation where you could realistically get players, because even if Paul George, free agent, goes to Oklahoma City, Jimmy Butler traded to Oklahoma City for, I don't know, Hoiberg gets sassy, Oladipo and, I don't know, Roberson. There. Now your starting 5 is Russell Westbrook, Jimmy Butler, Paul George, Steven Adams, and somebody at the 4. I don't know. Doesn't matter.
Somebody on a minimum contract, because that team is in luxury tax.
That team doesn't win the title. That team doesn't get
See,
through the Warriors. There's no way.
really, you're
And I
saying
think
there's no
part
way?
of the
They
problem
almost did it with
it's
just him and
because of
KD.
Russell Westbrook. Yeah,
You
but the
have to-
Warriors are better now. Is the thing. Now the Warriors have
You're-
KD.
Yeah, but you're adding Jimmy Butler and Paul George though.
Okay.
I'd say that's better than just Russell Westbrook and KD, and they almost. Beat
But
the
how
Warriors.
much better? And it's a different Warriors team.
Well, yeah,
This
but you have
Warriors
to
team has-
factor in that Warriors team broke the record for the most wins in a regular season.
They were the greatest regular season team I've ever seen, and they were the most fun. It's the most into a regular season I've ever been in my life of the NBA.
So,
And that team also, the year before, had a problem in the playoffs because when things get a little too physical, the team shuts down a little bit, which I think is part of the reason they really wanted Kevin Durant, because he brings a style of play that can survive just because of his length, even when you start hand checking and getting way more physical that Steph and Clay just can't handle. Anyway, I think that team can't beat the Warriors or the Cavs for at least a couple more years till LeBron gets too old, which is crazy to think about. In a couple years, LeBron's going to suck. And not suck, but he's not going to be LeBron. And that's really weird to think about, and it makes me feel old, and I don't want to talk about it. He's always going to have the ball in his hand, and he's going to turn Paul George and Jimmy Butler into spot-up shooters. And Jimmy Butler can't play that way. Paul George would probably be okay.
Well, that's why I say they at least stand a chance against them. Because they're two really good players, and you've seen Jimmy Butler take a backseat on the old Bulls teams. Because Derrick Rose was the same way. He's a ball-dominant point guard who just drives to the hoop.
Jimmy Butler wasn't what he is today back then. Jimmy Butler
he also didn't have the clout and personality that he
Jimmy
had back
Butler,
then.
when Derrick Rose was really good, was Roberson. A non-offensive option. It's just fact. Jimmy Butler
better than Roberson, but yes.
More talented. But that he wasn't an option on offense until 3 years ago. When he kind of took the league by storm.
Yeah, it's kind of like more of a go-to guy. He took the league by storm when Rose was gone. When Rose started getting all the injuries and he had to be relied upon more, and his game just grew because he's in the league more. And yeah.
But that's what I'm saying. He right now has a point guard, and every year since he's been a scorer has had a facilitating point guard. If he were to play with Westbrook, he would not.
I don't think Westbrook would just be what he is today if those two were on his team. Because he's like that because he doesn't have anybody else.
But he's been like that in previous years.
He wasn't like that last season, though.
He wasn't this bad.
No, he wasn't. Because
but there were still points last year where the fourth quarter would happen and Russell Westbrook would start playing hero ball. Well, Kevin Durant did it some in the playoffs.
They all shut down. They all reverted back to what they were, and part of that has to be on Billy Donovan because you can't.
But part of it's also it's the whole Tim Tebow syndrome of when things get tough, you break down to what you know. And Russell Westbrook knows how to be the man. Whether good or bad, he knows how to duck his head, run straight, and run past people. And he's great at it. But it means Kevin Durant wasn't getting the ball. It means Paul George and Jimmy Butler wouldn't get the ball. And that's just how it is.
Yeah, it's just he did revert to KD last season, which is why KD was part of the hero ball problem because it wasn't just Westbrook doing it, but it was both of them.
One or two games. KD did not. I think it was Game 6.
Game 6 was KD trying to just jack everything up.
I think that was the year where Clay was just jacking everything up, and everything went in Game 6. And they had no answers, so KD was trying to do the same thing and failing. That I will give you.
Yes,
that's KD's bad. But every other game, basically, when things got tough, Russell Westbrook tried to take over and ignored KD.
It's not even him trying to take over as just driving to the hoop. It's more of he thinks he's a 3-point shooter at the end of the game,
and he'll jack him up.
Exactly.
He'll start turning the ball over. Yeah, I'm with you. Obviously, you could win a championship with anyone if you put enough talent around them. I think a better way to phrase what I'm trying to say is Russell Westbrook can't be the best player on a championship team, and he can't be on a championship team if he plays any way other than he played the 2016 season.
Well, honestly, it's almost like the Kobe discussion we were having, because Russell has to be the alpha dog. He has to at least have that mentality, whether he's the best player on the team or not. That's why, like, if he teamed up with Kawhi or something, who Kawhi is all about the team and success and kind of more of a quiet guy, that could work out. I mean, they're also two really, really good players, but you have to have somebody who's got more of a passive personality.
I think it would be better, but again, I mean, you had that. KD has a passive personality. It's the reason he let Russell Westbrook do what he did. And KD's better than Kawhi. So, maybe not by much anymore.
No, I don't think it's... In this season, I wouldn't put him better than Kawhi.
You don't think... Well, KD's been hurt. You don't think...
Even with KD
KD's a better player than Kawhi? It's close.
I think they're both make
top
the argument
5.
that they're tied, but I mean, I think by next season you're going to put Kawhi over KD.
I disagree with that. But anyway.
All right, then.
I mean, Kawhi's just not the scorer that KD is.
No.
Okay.
I mean, he can still score like 35 points. I mean, what's KD doing? Scoring 35 points?
I mean, Kawhi averaged like 26 for the season. He wasn't scoring 35 a night.
Not on average, but he can. I mean,
so can KD.
Yeah,
I
know.
What are you talking about?
I'm just saying.
What kind of BS argument was that? Oh, Kawhi can score 35, which means he's
also
better
you're
than KD.
peeking the microphone right now.
I'll edit it out. You see KD ever score 35, huh? Have you ever seen KD score 35?
Yes, I have. We're asking
argument.
two different questions right here. KD did not have as good of a season as Kawhi Leonard,
he was
correct? Before he was hurt. I'm taking Kawhi over Kevin Durant.
Look up the numbers.
Right now? You look it up.
I'll do it.
I'll look it up as well, because Kevin Durant is not in the MVP conversation.
You look up he was before he got hurt.
No.
He was.
No, he wasn't.
What do you mean he wasn't?
He's not seriously.
Oh my God, you're an idiot.
Not seriously.
Most places had him like 4th behind Kawhi because he plays on the greatest talent assembled ever.
Still 4th.
You're an idiot.
It's called most valuable player. They actually got worse with Kevin Durant, record-wise. Record-wise, did they get worse? Did they get worse?
You realize MVP usually goes to the best player on the best team, right? Yeah. MVP doesn't mean most valuable.
This season it does.
God, you're an effing idiot.
No, I'm not. Kawhi Leonard stats.
KD, 25, 8, and 5.
For this season?
Yep.
Let's see. What site did you look up? Because this one has like a lot of
Google.
Advanced
I looked up Kevin Durant stats. Here, I'll do the same thing for Kawhi.
Because he averaged 25.5 is what Kawhi averaged this season.
Okay.
And also having to factor in they play completely different styles of basketball.
Okay, Kawhi averaged 25, 6, and 3. Sure sounds like Kevin Durant's numbers were better.
Yeah,
since that was your original argument. Original argument.
No, Kawhi had a better season than Kevin Durant. Okay, ask anybody out there who had a better season.
With you. I agree with you. We're not talking about who had a better season. We're talking about who's the better player.
Let's look up. All right, fine. If you're going that, average points per game Warriors versus let's average points per game NBA.
What are you
Golden
even
State,
looking up?
113.
What does that have to do with anything?
Style of play, Bradley. They play completely different styles. They do. So that has to factor in how many points per game Kevin Durant has over, and also the fewer games
thing. You are the worst debater of all time. No, I'm not. You really are.
No, I'm not.
Your original argument was about numbers, and then KD's numbers are better, and then you change your argument.
You didn't give me a chance to actually explain because you just jumped over me.
It's because you made an asinine comment.
No, I didn't.
Kevin Durant is the second best player in the league, but Kawhi Leonard is very close. Kawhi's probably
Golden
third.
State averaged 115.9 a game.
Why don't you just look at their individual efficiencies? Why don't you just do that?
San Antonio was 15th in points per game at 105.
I don't care. Why don't you look at their field goal percentage and their individual efficiencies. They're probably basically identical.
Right. That's why I was just shocked you were saying that, because
You're
Kawhi
shocked that I say Kevin Durant is a better player than
Who
Kawhi?
are you starting a team with right now? Kevin Durant or
Kawhi,
Kawhi
because
Leonard?
he's younger.
Okay.
One season, Kevin Durant. And it's very close. I'm not saying you're allowed to say that. They are both top 5 players. If I had to pick somebody, I'd pick LeBron right now because he's
for
magical.
one season. Absolutely, You're just picking LeBron, but it's like,
well, I mean, if I'm picking the rest of their career, yeah, give me Kawhi. He's younger. That's the logic. They're very close. They're both. We're arguing about like the 3rd and 4th best players in the league, or the 2nd and 3rd probably. And you have Kawhi at 2, and I have Kawhi at 3, and we're arguing about it. Who cares?
And you got very fired up at me for even saying it.
I got fired up because you made a stupid argument.
Because you didn't even let me explain the full argument. I take a lot of words to explain it, and you jumped over me, and then I had to just fire back.
You need to make it faster. We don't have time for this.
Well, clearly, because we're already at like 120. We're already at an hour and 20 minutes.
Oh, God. We got to wrap this up. Okay, yeah. Florida man.
Yeah, go for it.
All right. Ooh. Hang on.
I said 120 minutes.
It's really 120 minutes?
No, it's an hour and 21 minutes.
Oh.
But I mean, I saw
That's still long.
I saw 120.
Man, 120 minutes? I'm sorry. There's no way you're still listening.
Oh, yeah.
All right, here's the headline. Ready?
Yes.
Man sets his
Sorry, we didn't.
Oh, you're right. I'm sorry. I got rushed.
Now it's time for our favorite segment, everybody's favorite segment. What time is it, Bradley? Hit
Florida man.
Let's do it.
All right. Here's the headline. Man sets his underpants ablaze in Walmart bathroom. So, where was this? Palm Beach.
Sounds about right.
Okay. And this is credit to the Palm Beach Post. I'm just going to read the article because it's pretty short. Okay. Shout out to Palm Beach Post.
They have good articles.
Tweet us at The Rollout Show and we'll chat with you.
At The Rollout Show.
A man's underpants caught fire and in a Walmart bathroom and chaos ensued. Wow. You know what? Palm Beach Post? You already messed up. A man's underpants caught fire and in a Walmart bathroom and chaos ensued. That is a really poorly worded sentence, and I'm very disappointed in whoever wrote this.
Wow, taking shots at him.
DePentama, you effed up. Maybe your editor needs to be fired.
I'd say it's on the editing.
Central Pierce fire and rescue officials in Washington. In Washington? What is this? Maybe this didn't happen in Florida.
Is it the Palm Beach Post commenting on an article that happened in Washington?
No way. What have I done? You know what? I don't know.
So that's been the show today. Florida man really...
Wait. I'll find a new article. Give me 3 seconds.
Okay.
Let's see. I'm just going to shout out some headlines. You tell me when to stop. We'll play it this way. Florida man claims syringe is for injecting marijuana. That's stupid.
No.
Florida man worried about zombie breaks into home steals pink selfie stick.
Okay, that's intriguing.
All right, that's a maybe.
It's a maybe.
Deputy asks Florida woman if she had been drinking, and she replies, "A lot. I shouldn't be driving."
Okay, that's about right. I think we may have found a sweet spot.
All right. This is credit to villages-news.com.
Oh, no. The Villages. No.
Is this
you know what the Villages are, right?
I don't.
That's like... Well, for one, it also has the highest percentage... Like, the highest amount of STDs transmitted.
All right. That's all we need to know.
It's also primarily comprised of senior citizens.
This lady. Here, take a look at this lady.
Oh, that's exactly what I expected. Honestly.
All right.
That's the Villages.
An ambulance crew helped apprehend a drunk driving suspect who had been driving a car with 2 flat tires in the wrong direction Tuesday night near Eisenhower Recreation Center. 2 flat tires and in the wrong direction.
Oh. She probably didn't have her glasses on.
The ambulance crew spotted the car at about 9:30 p.m. driving south in the northbound lane of Buena Vista Boulevard. When a Sumter County Sheriff's deputy arrived on the scene, an EMT was standing directly in front of the car, driven by a 76-year-old. I'll omit her name, because why not? The ambulance crew had stopped Hunt. I just said her last name.
Oh, well.
And immediately determined she was intoxicated. A deputy asked Hunt where she was coming from, and she responded by saying, "From the bar."
Oh.
The deputy then asked Hunt if she had been drinking, and she replied, "A lot. I shouldn't be driving." She attempted to perform field sobriety exercises, but gave up. "I'm too drunk to do that. Just take me to jail," she said. She later provided 2 breath samples that each registered .181 blood alcohol content.
Oh my gosh.
I love that line. "I'm too drunk to do that. Just take me to jail."
Just take me to jail. That's when you know you've retired to Florida and just don't care about anything else anymore.
That's so good. All right, so it all worked out from that Washington story that apparently a Florida newspaper was commenting on. My bad. Really should have pre-read that one.
Yeah, I really should have.
And that's been this week's edition of Florida Man.
Florida Man. And this has also been this week's edition of the Rollout Show. Thanks for listening. It's a little bit of a longer show today, but it was our 10th episode / actually 9.87428.
Hey, you remember? Oh, why the extra 28 at the end? You had it before that.
Yeah.
You had it.
I wanted to add a little extra to it.
We round down here in these parts. We use sig figs. Significant figures.
I knew that, actually.
I'm proud of you.
Thanks. Freshman year stats. Anyway, so thank you for listening. Episode 10, Rollout Show. Be sure to check us out. Hit us up at the Rollout Show. And thanks for listening. We'll see you next week.
Bye.